Oh, my name is Laurie Hawkes, and I sound American, and my name is American, and I was born in the U.S., but I've been living in France since I was 6 years old, so my English is sometimes a little bit strange. And I'm a psychotherapist. I've been a psychotherapist for about 25 years, though I've been interested in the field for much longer than that when I started my own psychotherapy.
So how did you get involved in TA?
Well, actually, my first psychotherapy was in TA. I was about 19 at the time, and there was a woman doing TA in Paris, Lynn Lindstrom, and I had 1 year's therapy with her, and she also started a training group, and at the end of that year, in 1975, we all got in a car to ride to Villars for the first TA conference.
Wow, so you were there right at the beginning.
I was at the very beginning. So people ask me, how old were you? But I am one of the oldest people in TA, even though I'm not one of the
oldest.
ageist.
Yes, oldest but not oldest.
Right.
Lovely. And what is psychotherapy?
Well, as a person who started TA through psychotherapy, I'd say it's for when you're feeling really bad about something in your life, sometimes feeling like you cannot live with yourself or with some aspect of your life. It's a good thing to do. It's not the only way people can get help, but it's the most effective for a number of problems, and it is necessary for some of those problems. Because of that very special relationship of having someone who's there really for you, to really understand you, and who will help you understand yourself, and you understand together. And I find that kind of companionship with someone who's not invested in you going to any particular place, but invested in helping you really become as much as you can be of yourself. And of course that usually requires curing the problems first. But it doesn't always stop at that. Often we go beyond just taking care of symptoms, illnesses, intense suffering.
So what sort of range of issues might you work with as a psychotherapist?
Well, there's the theoretical range where I can work with people with pretty serious problems, though being in private practice, I don't work with people who are psychotic or who need that kind of protective care. But I work with a lot of people who have borderline disorders, so people who cannot contain themselves, who have intense suicidal fantasies and are often thinking of killing themselves. That kind of thing is so painful and is possible to really help in that kind of relationship. But it can also be lighter things, or things that appear not to be serious but actually are, such as eating disorders. You think, oh, people are bulimic, they're a little overweight, so what? And usually there's intense suffering under that. And I find fairly often suicidal ideation there as well. But also things that other fields can look at, such as I'm having trouble in my couple, or I'm having trouble in my work life, or I don't really know what I want to do with my life. And we can go into the depth of that. Why do I not know what I want in life? And I find I have more and more people who feel a loss of contact with their deeper self and say, I don't really know who I am, I don't know what I want. They come in and they say, well, I'm doing this job, I sort of fell into it, I don't really know how, I don't like it, but I don't know what else I want. And I find psychotherapy is really useful for that as well, even though it doesn't seem as dramatic, but it's deep.
And what do you think that, what does TA bring to psychotherapy?
Well, since I'm a TA baby myself, having really gone through TA therapy before I decided that I wanted to be a therapist and studied psychology and then studied TA more in depth, what I really, really like about it is that we have a number of concepts that are apparently simple. of course, all of us know after a while they aren't so simple. But I find it wonderful that we can explain a number of simple concepts to people that they can take hold of very quickly and feel that they have some influence on their lives. A sort of early stage of psychotherapy that's fairly cognitive behavioral, where the person is involved in the treatment as well, but in a sense the secrets are in the therapist's brain. They have the plan. In TA, I find we often encourage people to read TA things, and if they don't read things, we will often explain some things such as ego states or drama triangle or transactions or psychological games or things like that. And the way people grasp these notions and say, wow, this is so helpful for me, I really understand what happened. It doesn't mean they can immediately stop playing games. Not that the more advanced people stop playing games either, but you have a better idea of when we do them and trying to keep them at a lesser degree, things like that. But for people, I find it so empowering for them to understand what's going on for them.
Lovely. And what particular models in TA do you think are useful in psychotherapy?
Well, my two, what I call the two basic legs of TA are ego states and the script. And I find I use ego states with people openly at the beginning of treatment for them to understand some ways they function and get hold of that, and then they see transactions and things. And then I usually have it in mind but don't bring it up with them very much anymore. In fact, if we continue speaking that language, it often becomes defensive, because then instead of saying, I feel sad, they'll say, well, my child is being sad, etc. So it's a good first stage thing to me, but then I leave that one aside. And the script to me is, wow, the richest area of TA. And of course in the script you can fit everything else, since the script is so tied to what actually is in their structural ego states. And the games fit in the way they live their script. So then we talk a lot more about script, and that can go on for a long time. Also avoiding the lingo that can become defensive, such as, well, I did that because I was in script. But stopping at times to look at what happened there, and in what way is it part of your usual life story.
And what sort of lasting effect do you think that has for your clients when you use TA?
I have seen so many people, starting with myself, really change their image of themselves with TA, and their script. I mean, just simplifying script, having a poor me script, or a miserable script, or an angry script, or things that really sum up the repetitive, painful themes of people's lives. I find that it often takes a few years, but after a few years of working on that, people define themselves really differently. And it's, I marvel at it every time. And I look at myself sometimes, and I sometimes tell some people, especially trainees, about my own story, having been so deeply miserable and just desperate when I started therapy, and feeling so alive and happy now. So I feel like I'm an advertisement for psychotherapy and for TA.
You are indeed.